This happened during my junior year of high school, just last August. Our school had been undergoing a renovation over the summer. A new science wing was being built to replace the old portable buildings behind the gym. The plan was for construction to be finished before classes started, but of course, it ran behind. So when we came back that fall, the new hallway was technically done, but completely blocked off with caution tape and temporary doors. We were told no one was allowed back there until inspections were complete, and that all construction work would only take place on weekends. Naturally, every student was curious about it. You'd hear rumors all day, like that one of the classrooms had a built-in aquarium, or that they found asbestos and had to gut it all over again. Most people forgot about it after the first week, but not me. One Tuesday morning, I asked to go to the bathroom during second period. Our classroom was near the end of the West Hall, and just past it was the entrance to the sealed-off wing. I don't even remember making the decision. I just found myself walking past the restroom and heading toward the taped-off door. It looked like someone had peeled the tape back recently and then half-heartedly stuck it back on. I checked behind me. No one. I slipped through. At first, it was just dim and silent. The overhead lights weren't on, and there was this faint industrial smell, like sawdust and glue. The hallway was pristine. White walls, new blue lockers, classroom doors with windows still covered in plastic. Everything looked untouched. I crept down the hallway, just soaking it all in, until I heard something. A low scraping sound. I stopped. I thought maybe it was a draft or a loose panel, until I heard it again, more deliberate this time, like metal dragging on tile, then a soft shuffle, then breathing. I turned around, and maybe 20 feet behind me, in the shadows of the unlit hallway, there was a man. He was filthy, wearing a stained gray hoodie, black jeans that were way too long, and no shoes. His hair was stringy and matted, and his eyes looked wrong, like he hadn't slept in days. We locked eyes. Neither of us moved. Then he spoke, quiet, raspy. "Do you work here?" I bolted. I didn't even think. I just turned and ran full sprint back toward the door, slamming into it so hard it cracked open wider. I heard him behind me, grunting, his bare feet slapping against the tile. He was faster than I expected. I could hear him breathing harder, like he was getting closer. I tore out of that hallway and back into the main building, nearly knocking over a teacher. I screamed something, probably incoherent, but I remember yelling, "There's someone in the new wing," over and over. Within minutes, the school went into lockdown. I was taken to the nurse's office and then to the front office to give a statement. Police showed up. So did the superintendent. The school had to call every parent. I wasn't in trouble, but they were freaked out that a student had gotten that far into a secured zone and that someone had been living there undetected. Turns out, the guy was a homeless man who had been squatting in the new wing for nearly 2 weeks. Security footage showed him sneaking in late at night through an access panel left unlocked by the contractors. Since construction only happened on weekends and inspections hadn't started, no one had checked the area during the week. He'd apparently been sleeping in one of the science labs on a pile of insulation, eating leftover vending machine food, and even using the faculty restrooms in the early mornings before teachers arrived. He wasn't armed, and he didn't hurt anyone. But I don't think I'll ever forget how close he got, how loud his breathing sounded right behind me. After that, they completely sealed off the new wing until Thanksgiving break, and even when it reopened, I never walked down that hallway alone again. I was in 5th grade when this happened, and I didn't really understand how strange it was until years later. It was the first day of school. I remember because I had laid my clothes out the night before, packed my brand new pencil case, and was excited to see Mrs. Rowles again. She was the teacher my parents and I met at open house just a few nights before. Super kind, bubbly, and warm. She even gave me a book recommendation because I told her I liked mysteries. That first meeting stuck with me. So when I walked into the classroom that Monday morning and saw a man standing at the front of the room, writing Mr. Thomas on the whiteboard, I was confused. He was tall and older, probably in his 50s, wore slacks and a tucked-in button-up. Nothing too strange at first glance. But I remember the way he turned around, kind of startled, like he didn't expect us to actually walk in. He cleared his throat and said, "Good morning, class. I'm Mr. Thomas. I'll be your substitute today." Mrs. Rowles had a family emergency this morning, but I'm sure she'll be back soon. I didn't think much of it then. Stuff happens, right? But things started to feel off. He didn't take roll, just kind of looked at us and said, "Looks like everyone's here." Then he made us all stand up and shake out our nerves by jumping up and down in place. Which, okay, weird, but not unheard of. Then it got stranger. He had us take off our shoes and walk around the classroom silently for 5 minutes to feel the energy of the space. When one girl, Amanda, asked if she could keep her shoes on because she had socks with holes, he told her, "That's part of the experience." He didn't hand out textbooks, no icebreakers, no introductions. He just kept scribbling strange phrases on the board, like creativity lives in silence and education is a feeling. At one point, he asked us to draw what the room sounds like. Some of us started whispering to each other about how weird it was. A couple of kids even got up to ask the front office what was going on, but he raised his voice, not yelling, just suddenly stern, and told them to sit down. Around halfway through the day, while we were silently drawing, again, there was a knock at the door. It was the school resource officer. Mr. Thomas opened it, exchanged a few words in the hallway, then stepped out and closed it behind him. We waited 5 minutes, then 10. Then the door opened again. Mrs. Rowles walked in like nothing had happened. She was smiling, apologetic, explaining that she'd gotten a flat tire on her way in, but didn't have time to call ahead. She asked us how the day had been, if the sub had followed the lesson plan. We all kind of stared at her. Someone said, "He made us walk around barefoot." She just blinked, like she didn't understand. Mr. Thomas never came back. There was no explanation, no announcement, no follow-up from the principal. We just went on like it never happened. It wasn't until years later that I learned the truth. I was talking to my mom one night about school security. This was after a separate incident at my high school, and I brought up the weird substitute from 5th grade. She got quiet. Then she told me what really happened. Mr. Thomas wasn't a substitute. He had shown up that morning claiming he was subbing for Mrs. Rowles. The front office was overwhelmed. It was the first day of school. The phones were ringing nonstop, and a bunch of new staff had just started that week. Somehow, no one checked his credentials. He signed in, grabbed a visitor badge, and was given directions to our classroom. It wasn't until Mrs. Rowles herself showed up and asked why a man was in her room that the office realized the mistake. They immediately called the SRO, who pulled him out of the classroom. He didn't have any weapons. He hadn't hurt anyone. But he also wasn't in any system. Not a teacher, not a district employee, not even a registered visitor. Just some man pretending to be a substitute. My mom said the school never told the parents because nothing official had happened. No injuries, no threats. They wanted to avoid panic. But behind the scenes, there were apparently serious talks about liability and internal policy failures. I still think about that day sometimes, how easily it all happened, how someone could walk into a school, walk into a classroom, and just take over, and how none of us would have questioned it if he hadn't been so weird. This happened my second year teaching high school. I was 26, fresh off my master's program, and lucky enough to land a full-time position teaching junior English at a pretty decent public school. I was young, enthusiastic, probably too nice for my own good. I wanted to be the teacher kids felt safe talking to. But I learned the hard way that sometimes that openness can be misread. His name was Nathan. 16, quiet, smart. He sat near the back of my third period class and always turned in his work on time. He wasn't disruptive. In fact, he barely spoke in class. At first, I appreciated that, until I realized he was watching me, constantly. It started small. I'd glance up during a lecture and catch him staring, not in a daydreaming kind of way, just watching. Eyes fixed on me. No smile, no expression, just staring. Then he started showing up early. I'd get to my classroom around 7:15 to prep, and Nathan would already be in the hallway. He'd pretend to be passing by or going to the library, but it became obvious he was waiting for me. Still, I brushed it off. High school kids are awkward. Maybe he didn't have friends. Maybe I reminded him of a sister or something. Then he started emailing me. At first, it was about class, questions about assignments or book recommendations. But then he started writing longer messages, personal ones, telling me how he liked my voice, how he appreciated the way I always looked so put together, how he thought we had a real connection that he couldn't explain. That's when I started to get nervous. I replied once, politely but firmly, reminding him that I was his teacher, that our communication needed to stay professional, and that personal comments weren't appropriate. He didn't respond to that email, but he also didn't stop. Instead, he started leaving notes, folded pieces of paper on my desk after class, inside my mailbox in the office, tucked into the windshield of my car. Notes that said things like, "I know you understand me," and "They won't get in the way forever." I showed them to our department head, who immediately looped in the school counselor and vice principal. They spoke to him, called his parents, put a formal warning in his file. For a few days, he backed off. Then one afternoon, I stayed late grading papers. The parking lot was nearly empty when I walked out, sun already down, wind picking up. I was halfway to my car when I saw someone standing near it. Nathan. Just standing by the passenger side, hands in his pockets. I stopped in my tracks and asked, "What are you doing?" He said nothing. I told him he needed to leave immediately, that this was inappropriate, and that I would call security. Still, he didn't move. I turned back toward the building, but before I could take 2 steps, I heard him say, "You don't have to be scared of me." I didn't reply. I just walked quickly back inside and straight to the security office. By the time they got to the parking lot, he was gone. But the next morning, I found a deep scratch down the driver's side of my car. I couldn't prove it was him, but I knew. That was the final straw. The administration escalated it to the school board and issued a no-contact order. He was pulled from my class and moved to virtual instruction for the rest of the year. I never saw him again. I finished the year, but I never really felt safe again at that school. The district offered to install a camera facing the parking lot and suggested I carry pepper spray. I ended up transferring the following fall to a larger school in another part of the city. I still teach, and I still love it. But I'm not as open with my students as I used to be. I keep more distance now, set firmer boundaries. Maybe I shouldn't have to, but I do. Because it only takes one student who gets the wrong idea, and next time, I might not be lucky enough to walk away. Thanks for stopping by the channel. We hope you enjoyed these 3 truly terrifying stories. If you want to hear more just like this one, subscribe to our channel and turn notifications on so you can be reminded when we post a new long-form video every Tuesday at 10 a.m. If you have a story you'd like to hear read on the channel, email it to us at officialnightmarenarratives@gmail.com, and you might just hear your story read in a future episode. Thanks again for listening, and stay spooky, friends. We'll catch you in the next one.